artillery experience here in Woolwich. Now coming up, we've got games galore, but first up, as usual, it's incoming.
A special election mod has been created for Unreal Tournament. Visitors to onlinegames.net can get hold of a special outsized office map and skins of all three party leaders as they slug it out for glory. Pity there's no skins of John Prescott and protesters with egg guns. The award-winning genre-busting PC game Giants is going to storm its way onto the Xbox. Although it looks gorgeous on the PC, developers Planet Moon promise even more stunning visuals and effects to take the Giants franchise up one more gear. Jedi Knight 2 has been announced for the PC. Entitled Star Wars Jedi Outcast, once again you take on the role of Kyle Katarn in a first-person shooter. Using the Quake 3 engine, it's going to look a lot better than its older brother shown here, and of course there's even more opportunity to use the Force. We'll bring you a full preview when we get our grubby mitts on it.
Do you remember the days when cartoons used to be just chase capers with extreme violence? Did you ever get frustrated when the tracks never worked in Roadrunner? Well, if it all sounds a bit familiar, well, why not try being the calamitous coyote yourself? Here's how in TBA.
Sheepdog and Wolf sees you in the paws of Wile E. Coyote as he attempts to steal sheep from the ever-watchful gaze of Sam Sheepdog in his third-person action strategy game. In true Looney Tunes style, it's not just a case of running into the paddock and grabbing a handful of wool. You'll have to use your head as well as your legs if you don't want to be hammered into the ground by the meat-fisted K9. At your disposal are a number of gadgets, including cabbages to lure sheep away, brushes to jump into and sneak around in, and of course boulders on wooden seesaws. The game's looking great on the aging console with a suitably cartoony feel and great over-the-top sound effects when it comes down to sprinting away in a cloud of dust or sneaking around on tiptoes. Expect it to hit the shelves later than build on the PS1 and PC in September. The Xbox may be super powerful, but it also seems the machine is perfect for rendering wobbly 3D. You can see where this is going. Dead or Alive 3 is coming exclusively to Xbox, and as you can see by this footage, it's looking fantastic. The third in the highly popular fighting series promises to deliver more action, more characters, and of course a whole new range of fighting moves and combos, as well as ridiculous ring-outs. The game is expected to be one of the first wave of games to come out for the machine when released in America this autumn, so expect it to do the same here when the Xbox hits UK shores next year.
Since the PlayStation 2's hit the market, all you faithful PS1 owners may feel a little bit neglected. Now, if that's the case, we've got our hands on a couple of nifty little bits of kit that could help rekindle your relationship with the console. Now, first up, we have this. This is the MP Exchanger from Blaze, and really this is quite a nifty little device. Now, what you do is you plug it into the back of your PC in the printer port, and then you can either put in Game Boy cartridges, PlayStation memory cards, or N64 memory packs, and then loading the software in, you can actually log on to the website they've got and get loads of saved games. So if we just go and have a look now, we've got the Wipeout save point, which we've downloaded. We just click this transfer button and it's chugged away for a couple of seconds, and there we go, my memory card's being updated. Now it also works the other way around, so you can save games onto your memory card in the normal way, plug it into the device, and then transfer them to your PC and email them to your friends to really prove that you are quite a gaming guru. Now, if you're into your gaming on the move, you could get yourself one of these screens designed for the PS1. Now, we've seen quite a few around already, but this one is a bit different. Now, it's got, as you can see, it's got a massive screen. It's about twice as big as other ones, about 5 inches. It's got stereo speakers left and right, and if we fold it down, they've even included a headphone socket so you don't annoy people on the move. And the really good thing is, at the back here, they've got a power adapter, and they've included a car adapter so you can plug it into a cigarette lighter, and that play it on the move. And unlike other screens where you have to plug in the screen and the PlayStation, this one provides a 3-port and powers both. Very handy indeed. Well, I'm off back to the museum now. I think this will come in very useful. Now, if you're a PC owner, you'll know that it's sometimes quite a battle to get your games to get along with Windows. Well, now Windows XP is on its way, so are we in for new nightmares? Well, here's the details.
The PC may be one of the most versatile gaming platforms, but it also suffers from its fair share of problems, whether it be problematic hardware drivers or games that keep crashing. Microsoft reckon they may be able to banish these problems forever with their new operating system. Currently codenamed Whistler, the final release will be called Windows XP. Game Over spoke to Windows Product Marketing Manager David Weeks to find out more. We first quizzed him over the new XP tag.
Windows XP, well the XP stands for experience, so Windows XP will enable new capabilities on your PC, especially in the home environment. We've had this in development for around 18 months and we've been building on the foundation of Windows 2000, which has been proven rock solid in the business space now. So we want to bring that stability and reliability to the home user now.
Reliability is something computer gamers have been crying out for. Unfortunately, XP is a lot more stable than the likes of Win98 and ME. This is because the system is based on the robust Windows 2000, which is a lot less crash prone. Users can also look forward to a sparkling new interface, which is easy to navigate and understand. Another neat new feature is the ability to play problematic older games.
No problem at all with Windows XP. There are games on the marketplace that would only run in certain Windows 9X environments, say for Windows 95 or Windows 98. So obviously moving to a full 32-bit platform as Windows XP is, they won't be able to run their own games on there. So we've actually built in something called compatibility mode, which enable or emulate the Windows 95 environment or the Windows 98 environment, so people can actually use older applications running on Windows XP, which is a great bonus because a lot of gamers like to play their older games as well.
Playing nostalgic retro games is indeed fun, but Microsoft have also implemented plenty of new improvements for future games too. So what can gamers expect from XP?
They're actually going to get a great gaming platform. It's really robust, really reliable. It's a very user-friendly interface in there, so they're going to get a great experience. Also with Windows XP, because it is, for high-end gamers, they're going to be able to use multi-processors, so they can have 2 Pentiums running in the same machine, so they're going to get extreme performance on that high-end area there. Also, the benefit of Windows XP is over Windows 95 or Windows 98, the more RAM you have, the more performance you're going to get. Where you get great performance up to 64 megabytes with Windows 95 or on the Windows 9X platform, but anything over that it starts to tail off. So you've got a curve that comes off and tails off. With Windows XP, because it utilises all the RAM, the more RAM you have, the more performance you're going to get, and that continues up on the curve, which is an excellent result for gamers.
With the likes of Windows XP and the Xbox, Microsoft are targeting gamers in a big way. We've been using the new operating system for a while. It has proven to be very stable and hasn't crashed, ever. It seems the days of ridiculing the Big M over buggy software may be finally over, and it couldn't have come at a moment too soon for all the PC game players out there.
Oh, look at the size of that column. Now, the first game to be reviewed this week is World Destruction League Warjets. It's a 3D aerial combat game on the PS1. But will it win against the Assassin's sharpshooting? Well, let's find out.
WDL Warjet is a futuristic gladiatorial combat game where condemned criminals or some other such lowlifes take to the skies in armed warjets to fight for the amusement of bloodthirsty TV audiences all across the globe. What's good about WDL Warjet is that they've bothered to put in a little bit more to it than just dogfighting. Sure, the dogfights are the focus, and on most levels you will have to face off against an enemy air race, but there's also destroying air balloons, bombing ground targets, for which you go into a completely different targeting mode. And the whole game just feels a bit more varied, a bit more finished than most of the air combat games we've had the displeasure of playing on PlayStation. A lot of the environments are pretty scrappy, but again, there's a huge variety in the environments you get to fight in. There are decaying cities, there's volcano levels, there's levels set in grassy, sunshiny valleys. It just makes a change from your usual air combat game where everything is set over some kind of brown heather moor and there's no variety to the scenery at all. Another of the strengths of Warjets is the sheer variety of vehicles you get to pilot throughout the game. It's not just a question of upgrading to a slightly faster plane every few levels or so. There's distinct gangs, each of which has radically different vehicles for you to learn to pilot. so radically different that choosing a different gang almost feels like playing a different game. And the developers of Warjets really have to be congratulated for this. The only bad points of Warjets are really the limitations of the PlayStation. Sometimes it chugs when there's a lot of things flying around in the air. Sometimes when there's a lot of scenery around, you can see through bits of it, or it gets a little bit scrappy around the edges of the screen. Still, there's a PlayStation 2 version in the works, and hopefully they'll iron out these faults for that. Warjets starts off with a pretty awful premise, but somehow, against the odds, manages to come up trumps. There's just enough variety in the vehicles, the weapons, and the mission objectives here to keep you playing, despite the fact that the graphics are kind of a little bit scrappy.
Well, it's time to retire to the trenches for the end of part 1, but pop your head out for part 2, because we've got the second part in our guide to building a PC and Spider-Man web slings onto the Dreamcast.
It's not life and death, it's a game.
If you take video games as seriously as we do,
It's not life and death, it's a game.
you'll know that gaming isn't just a matter of life or death.
The Xbox, the future of video games.
It's a lot more important than that. Game Over, tonight at 10 on .tv.
It's not life and death.
Enjoy a family summer holiday from only £199 a week at Haven, where great family holidays are made. Call 0800 20 30 40 for details.
No, I don't think I have a window for you today. I got a feng shui consultant coming. Oh, that's him now. Gotta go.
Call me Zane. Let us begin. It's done.
Having a nationwide current account can make quite a difference. You want to go surfing on a weary Wednesday? Why not? Your current account was the first on the high street to pay interest. And if you need to impress someone, you've had free, easy access to your cash for years. All in all, life's a beach, and never mind the weather. So now can you see the difference? Run entirely for the benefit of its members, nationwide, underlining the difference.
All this just to find out why old El Paso fajitas taste so good. It's the smoky barbecue flavor from northern Mexico, hey? Just add the chicken or beef, peppers and onions to the smoky barbecue sauce.
Hey, yo ho!
No, no more horses.
You are cordially invited to spend a night in the worst hotel in the world.
Nice.
Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson. Longer, louder, and lewder than ever before.
Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Guest House Paradiso, tonight at 10 on Sky Movie Max.
Still to come on Game Over, our top 5 weapons and power-ups, and how a football management game got signed over to the opposition.
But first, part 2 of our guide to building a better PC in the Game Over Bootcamp.
On our last bootcamp, we looked at our computer case and power supply, CPU, RAM and motherboard. Today we're looking at the remaining components. You'll need a range of drives for PC building. First up we have the trusty floppy drive, perfect for small file saves, and you can boot your computer using a system disk if you have problems, so getting one is a must. Next up you'll need a hard disk for storage. Go for the largest and fastest one that you can afford. We've opted for this 60 gig IBM drive, which is classed as a UDMA 100 drive. This basically means it's very fast. Lastly, you'll need a CD or DVD drive. We've killed 2 birds with 1 stone with this, a Ricoh combination DVD and CD writer drive. So you can play movies and DVD games, as well as being able to burn your own CDs. Talking of CDs, you'll need a sound card if you want to be able to hear them through speakers. There are many sound cards on the market at varying price points. We've gone for the new Hercules Game Theatre. This card can handle formats like Dolby Digital movie soundtracks and even has an exterior breakout box that can be used to adjust settings. Lastly, you'll need a graphics card to power all your games. There are, once again, many different types available from manufacturers, and prices can differ considerably. Since we want a speedy PC, we have chosen one of the fastest and most expensive, available in the form of NVIDIA GeForce Ultra. Once again, we opted for a card by Hercules because it's one of the better Ultra cards on the market. Well, we've run through all our components for our base PC unit, tools needed and precautionary measures, so roll up your sleeves and prepare for our next PC bootcamp when we'll start plugging our first parts together. For now though, it's back to Matt.
Footy management games, if you like that sort of thing, you'll love them. But they've been going for over 10 years now, and here's a story behind the beginnings of one of the best.
This is Oliver Collier. He's the joint chairman of Sports Interactive, along with his brother Paul, who's thrashing him at ISS. Last year, they released Championship Manager Season 2000, which lets you manage your own team to victory, but the first game on the ST and Amiga had humble beginnings.
Our first game was Championship Manager. That was out in 1991 or 92 or something, and that was basically the same game but a very, very simple version of it. Incredibly low resolution screen, very little size of database, unrecognisable from what we're sort of developing now, and the game's kind of evolved over the sort of last 10 years to become what it is now. We sold minuscule amounts back in those days. The people who liked it really got into it, but not many people sort of knew about it, so it's taken a long time to get the recognition that it sort of gets now.
So what kept them going in the early days?
Well, we're football fans primarily, as opposed to sort of people who write games, so we were kind of inspired by a couple of other games around at the time. There was some mail order company that was selling these sort of games. We ordered some, played them, thought, yeah, that's really cool, and maybe we can do better. So we had a go, and we did. So
they knew they had something special and wrote letters to publishers. Domark and Electronic Arts showed interest, but after seeing the game, Electronic Arts declined.
They decided that it needed graphics, so they told us in a letter, which I still have, and which we had great pleasure in showing to them a couple of years ago when they tried to sign us, that it's the sort of game that would be more suited to being advertised in the back of sort of specialist magazines, or maybe we should go to like a mail order company or something. So I think we feel quite smug that it turned out to be so successful and they turned out to be so wrong.
So Domark published the game and a legacy was born. So much so, they had some strange feedback from fans.
One example of that is when Keegan resigned as England manager, there was apparently from the FA a dearth of applications from people who'd actually played Championship Manager, and they considered themselves to be worthy to take the England job on the basis of having played the game. Now that's happened a lot. It's happened with Notts County as well. They reported a similar thing. And the funniest one was probably Wolves, when a 12-year-old guy had written in to say, I'd like to take over the job, And his little extra sort of thing that he thought would clinch it would be that his mum could actually wash the team kit. One guy wrote in to tell us that he'd played the game so much he'd become expelled from school. And his point of his letter was to thank us because it meant that he could now spend more time because he was at home, expelled, so he could play the game even more.
Currently, the team's making Championship Manager 4. We're sure it'll be a winner, unlike Oliver's skills on the pitch.
Now time for 5 weapons and power-ups that will definitely have you visiting the laundrette in the collection.
Hurtling into the number 5 position is the good old lightning bolt in Mario Kart 64. Once activated, all the other drivers will shrink like babies and travel about half the speed. It's the most powerful weapon available and it's guaranteed to gain you a few positions. It's a rare one to pick up, so when you have one, use it wisely. Rippling its way up to number 4, it's Wipeout's Shockwave power-up on the PlayStation. Watch the track in front of you transform into a Mexican wave-style ripple, flinging any drivers unfortunate enough to be ahead into oblivion. As graphically impressive as it is devastating, use this one selectively. Spinning into the number 3 position, it's the Tornado power-up on the PS2's Rumble Racing. This lets you send a full-scale twister swirling down the track, taking out everything in its path. It's one that can take you from last place right up to first. If you see one in your rear view mirror, it's bicycle clip time. Dropping in at number 2, it's the thermonuclear warhead you find yourself armed with in F-22 Lightning III. As you can imagine, once it's dropped, you don't want to hang around to watch the mushroom cloud form. It's a stunning sight and causes an amazing virtual shockwave. As far as explosions are concerned, they don't come much bigger than this. Every first-person shooter has to have a mother of all weapons, and in Unreal Tournament, it comes in the shape of the Redeemer. Once you've guided it from an onboard viewpoint, just sit back, relax, and watch your opponent frantically, more often than not unsuccessfully, try and escape from its awesome explosive shockwave.
And for more games info, as usual, don't forget to log on to tvchannel.co.uk/gameover. Now time for the second review, and at last Spiderman has found his way from the PlayStation over to the Dreamcast, and here's the Assassin's all-important verdict.
Listen, I realize what this means. Forget about helping me with Omnitech. I can handle Rhino.
Rhino by yourself? Thanks, Cat, but no thanks. Look, being Spider-Man has given me a lot and taken a lot away, but one thing never changes. My responsibility to use my powers for others before myself, no matter what the cost.
It's taken a long while, but finally Dreamcast users are going to get to appreciate Spider-Man, clearly the best superhero game ever released. And, what's more, in a new, polished-up version that makes the PlayStation original look rather grotty. Where Spider-Man really scores big is how the game totally revolves around Spider-Man's special powers. Previous superhero games, particularly on the Mega Drive and the SNES, just tended to portray the main hero as just a bruiser in a cape who wandered along treating people to his powerful right hook. Here, everything is about webs, swinging on webs, shooting webs, even exploding bits of webs, all down to Spider-Man's powers.
Whoa!
The PlayStation version of Spider-Man looked plenty tasty, and the Dreamcast version takes that and improves on it. Of course, there's the usual Dreamcast drawback that some of the characters look almost a bit too clean, a bit too solid, a bit too 3D cardy, but they've got rid of the fogging that kind of spoiled the PlayStation version, and most of the way through, this looks plenty tasty. What's good about this is that it just perfectly captures this feel of Spider-Man. You're climbing up walls a lot of the time, you're swinging off huge web ropes a lot of the rest of the time, and when you're not doing that, you're fighting against supervillains who are straight out of the comic books. If you felt shortchanged by every lame superhero game you've played up till this point, Spider-Man is the one. It is pure Marvel comic books and pure genius. Of course, we'd be lying to you if we pretended that Spider-Man was the perfect video game. Naturally, there are a couple of flies in the ointment. For starters, the camera gets a little bit hyperactive at times, and sometimes that can get in the way of the action. And a couple of other times, the sheer up and down anti-vertical nature of the game gets a little bit mental, and it's difficult to remember whether you should be pressing up to mean down or down to mean up, or whatever. At that point, you'll usually fall off and die. Spider-Man really shows the way forward for superhero games. There's been a huge amount of thought put into this, and it really is a meaty playing experience.
Right, that's it. Time up. Matt Cuttle, game over. Run titles.
Park up for Dream Machines, delivering the fastest and coolest drives around. After the break on .tv.